Okay, this is a game in the AMX CDC, the premium French medium tank. That's tier 8. It's a pretty good tank. It's mobile, has a good gun. It really has no armor, and so a lot of HE shells can go through it, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. This is a game on Winterberg, and so as I usually say in the stream, you want to look at the compositions of each team. They have a little bit more tank destroyers, which tends to be a little bit campier. I still think that the south side of this E line is important from the north, and just like the south side of the north side of the F line is important for their spawn. And whoever controls that line really has a good chance of winning the middle. So we're going to talk about that a little bit, and about how you need to play a little bit aggressively through this east side, and if they're too passive on their side, how that can be a boon for you. And so, as usual, whenever we start these games, you always want to look the first 30 seconds to 60 seconds into the game. You want to look and see what your team is doing, how they're dispersing, where they're going, and what they're doing. And so when you look at this, right, so we've got this T71 that's doing this basically the 6-7 line spot, which is fine. There's not a problem with that. The 254 lightweight is sort of up by us. We can spot down here through over by the 9 line by just moving forward. Most of our team is still in the back, right? The M103 went to the town, but most of these guys haven't really come that far on the base. And these guys on the A line aren't going to be really effective for a while until the game develops a little bit more. And so all I'm going to do here is just move up to a spot where I did not get lit on the way up here, so I can just peek out here to see how many guys they send forward. Right, so we pick up this 34-3. And so we don't see a whole lot in front of us there. The T-54 that was here YOLO'd in here. So that gets us some intel. So when we look at this configuration that they're in, the Type 59 is forward, but most of their tanks are still back. This 34-3 is the only guy that was headed out towards the 0 line. You look at our config, we're strong on this 6 line here, but we don't really have a lot of people out over here on my side. We've got these couple guys in the back, and the Super Pershing that'll catch up eventually. The only thing that we have out over here is this Bulldog MT-25. And so what we're looking at is that their team is still pretty far back. They haven't moved anybody up, and the only person that's a danger to move up is this T-34-3 right here, and perhaps the Type 59. The Type 59 is chasing after our YOLO T-54 though, so we'll keep an eye on that. And this guy has a little bit of a hull down here, so I can't just hang out here and try to trade with him. It's a trap! And then so we'll pause it again here for a second. So you look at what your team is doing, right? So our M103 is playing a little bit aggressively through town, which is that's a little risky, right? He doesn't really have the numbers to back him up. Most of our guys are still on this 6 line over here. We don't have a whole lot of people over here, but they also don't have a whole lot of people out on the 0 line. Now, one of the advantages of controlling the south side of this E line is that it allows you to then take the next step, which is to clear down this 0. And so when you clear down this 0, what ends up happening is that you end up getting great shots into this area down here. So anybody who doesn't move forward or doesn't go onto this 0 line, you end up being able to own. And it's the same thing coming from the south side. If you come from the south spawn and you control the north side of this F line, that allows you to move up this 0 line. Once you start moving up this 0 line, that allows you to annihilate anybody in the middle here. And we've gone over this in the stream before. I just wanted to show an example of what it looks like from the north side here. And so we know the 34-3 is moving out. We haven't seen anybody else move out that direction. The only other person that can is that Type 59. He's kind of low. We haven't seen a whole lot in the city, but we know that we don't have a lot in the city either. We have some of our guys starting to spread out on this F line, which it's good and bad. So our goal is to figure out where this 34-3 is and be able to deal some damage to him. Our Super Pershing was able to get a shot on him, which is good. And we're able to finish him off. And then now what we want to do is we want to progress up this side as quickly as we can. We know that there's some of their team is still locked down in that middle area there, especially we know that the Waffle's in the back, and we know that the T-30 is also on that 6-7 line. It's a trap! So there's a T-49 with a 90 mil shooting HE at me. And HE is not bad to shoot at the CDC, but you have to be a little bit careful, so I'm just guarding myself with the carcass of the T-34-3, or 2. I guess it is a 3. And then you'll see that as I push down here, I'm going to start getting better and better shots on these guys. There is a KP here. But these guys, so one of the nice things about playing this zero line, and the reason why you push down this zero line, ideally you do it with a tank with a little bit stronger turret, like one of the Russian mediums or something like that. But the advantage of pushing down this zero line is the same thing as pushing up the north on the zero line here, is that there's a hill here that protects you from direct fire from a lot of the lower ground. So in order to attack you like this KP, right, he has to drive up onto this road. And as long as he's lit, he's extremely vulnerable to getting shot by these guys over here. Everybody can shoot him. So it's just a matter of keeping him lit. And again, in order for him to shoot you, he needs to get really close. And then once you sort of get around onto to securing the zero line, right, he can't stay there. If he stays there, he's going to die. For a non-turreted tank destroyer, he's not going to really do it the right way either. But and then all I want to do is just move down here and see if I can ferret out where the rest of their guys are at. And then see how I can use this ridge right here to protect myself from this waffle. And then there's a line of bushes all the way up here that I can use for camo once I drop my spot in order to keep these guys lit or get shots on my own. And so that puts these guys in this middle area in a real tough spot because they can't really spot me that easily. I have cover, both indirect cover from the camo and also direct cover from the hill if I choose. And I have the ability to spot them through this camo, through these bushes. And at this point we have a little bit of time, so I don't feel like I need to rush, but if I wanted to light that waffle, I could. We know that they have most of their remaining forces out in this field area. And so we've taken down one of the biggest guns on the map, so that'll make it easier for us.
It's a trap!
And then it's just a matter of taking the shots as you get them. Lighting them as you get them. They've sort of broken up this 6 line here, but it's too little too late. We've devastated the rest of their team.
It's a trap!
And then we can just wrap it up. No, well, I'll talk about that in a second. And then the rest of the game is just mop up, mop up, mop up. I pull out a little bit too far away.
It's a trap!
But he misses his shot anyway, so. Go us. Okay, and so the moral of the story, though, is that once you control that E line, or if you're coming from that south spawn, once you control the north side of that F line, you can clear out through this area, and that allows you to clear out any guys that are right here. They didn't have anybody move forward, so it made it even easier. And then the next step is to push down this 0 line, and then you can get that allows your guys that are set up on this E line to get all sorts of great shots into this area. For guys that you light, and anything that they can't shoot, anything like that are on the south sides of these buildings, are things that you can shoot. And so that's the great advantage of playing that 0 line. And so even though we didn't have a whole lot of support with us on this 0 line, right? If they push more tanks out here, that would have been more of a problem. But we know, right? We know because of the intel that the 34-3 was out there, the Type 59 was injured, and they didn't really have a whole lot, right? The T-49 was hiding in the back, and eventually got up there. The KP was in the back as well, and he eventually got up there. But again, those are situations where once those guys get lit, they start getting railed by the rest of your team that's going to be on this your E line there. And so as long as you have that sort of fire support, you can push down there and be able to wreck people. And it's the same thing again going from the north side, where you want to look to wreck these people here first, and then as you move down here, you can clear out the rest of the field. And so even though they had most of their high tier tanks in the field, and they had most of their tanks in general in the field, we were able to clean them up pretty easily, right? It wasn't really that much of a risk to us, and it wasn't really that much of a risk to the rest of our team. And that was just through positioning and being in a position where we could light them where they can't easily return fire, where our team can easily shoot at them. And so if we look at the stats, it's pretty much as you would expect. We were able to do a lot of damage simply because we had a lot of shots, and a lot of shots onto the sides of tanks and into squishy tanks and tank destroyers and things like that. And as long as you're creating opportunities either for yourself or your team, that's usually a good thing. We did get a little bit of damage on detecting, not a whole lot, but most of that was based on those guys that we were lighting, like the KP, T49, T34-3, and things like that. So moving up that lane allows you to create those opportunities for your team. And again, ideally you'll do it in something that's a little bit less squishy than an AMX CDC, but as you can see, the CDC can do the job in that particular case. So anyways, I hope that was helpful for playing Winterberg, Ruinberg, whatever you want to call it, particularly in the field, and my general theory of how to take the field and why you can use these different features to protect yourself as you advance into the next sector, and hopefully your team is just there to collect the free damage. So that's that, and thanks for watching.